Hey there, greetings friends. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Alicia, and today I'm sharing something new with you guys. I had ChatGPT make our family dinner plan for 5 nights. So if you are not familiar with ChatGPT, it's kind of like almost similar to like a Google. It's like a chat bot where you're able to ask questions, random questions. It'll give you feedback, give you some answers. It creates images for you. So I thought it would just be a great idea to try to use this, even though AI can be definitely like scary. I thought it would be kind of cool to see what it would do for some family dinner ideas. I'm always coming up with like meal ideas, and I was like, I don't want to think about it. So I thought I would have ChatGPT give me some meals, write out all of the recipes for me, and create a grocery list for me to take along with me, which you guys might have seen in that Aldi haul. I did go and get all of the groceries for that. So over the course of the next 5 days, I made everything that ChatGPT gave to me, and you know what? It was awesome. Not having to think, everything was already laid out for me, including the grocery list, which was super helpful. So let me share with you guys the meals that I made for 5 nights that ChatGPT created for me. One of the first meals we are making is the sheet pan sausage and veggies with rice. So this was actually a major hit. This is something that I don't ordinarily make. I've made this maybe once or twice in the past. I definitely need to come back and bring it back though, because my family totally loved it. Also, I'm going to be including all of the recipes that you're going to see here today. I kind of created like a document. So if you go to the link down below in the description box, it'll give you all the recipes that ChatGPT created for me. I just kind of made it into like a cuter format. So I'll head down there for those recipes. But for this very first recipe, if you noted the ingredients, you'll see on here there is actually 2 starches. And at first I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. But then I would kind of be going away from what ChatGPT created for me. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to do what it says. So there is definitely some potatoes in this mixture along with some rice that I'm making on the side. Next time I would probably leave out either the rice or the potatoes. I would not include both. But again, I was just trying something different. My family really ended up enjoying this. Now, one of the other things, a few things that I should mention. One, these recipes are not very heavily seasoned, and you will see me later on adding some more additional seasonings just because I like my food very flavorful and super seasoned. But for this one, I'm following it to a T. The other thing I need to make note of if I ever do this type of video again is I need to tell ChatGPT for how many people these dinners should be for, because it was not enough. So it did say 1 pound of sausage. I ended up buying 2 pounds because for our family of 5, I feel like that was probably going to be more accurate, and it did turn out perfect for us. And as you can see here, no leftovers except for the rice. Again, I would only recommend just making 1 starch. And now we're moving into our spaghetti with meat sauce and garlic bread. I, of course, was very thrilled that this popped up. My husband, on the other hand, was not. But he did say for the sake of the video, he would eat it. And you know what? He actually enjoyed it because it was something different. Usually I make like linguine and meatballs, but the meat was inside the sauce, which I usually don't ordinarily do. And I should make note, if you are new here, my husband is not a fan of spaghetti and meatballs. And so when I told him that ChatGPT created a meat sauce with spaghetti recipe, he was kind of not excited about it, but he said that he would eat it. And honestly, it was very good. It was super basic, but it came together so fast, which is exactly what we needed this particular night. Just because my kids are in soccer, all 3 are in soccer. And so something as simple as this recipe is phenomenal. Now, it does lack a lot of spices. So if you're into like heavily seasoned sauces, definitely up the amount of like herbs or spices you decide to use. And just in case you're wondering, why the heck are there paper towels in my ground beef? It's because you guys had actually told me a long time ago that I should try using paper towels to soak up all the fat from ground beef. Ordinarily, I just kind of scoop it out with a spoon or something, but this is just so much easier. So thank you guys so much for mentioning this tip. So for the marinara sauce, I like to either make my own or buy Rao's when it's on sale at Costco, but I was going to Aldi. I got all of my stuff for this video from Aldi, and their marinara sauce is so good. And like way cheaper. I'm talking like $5 to $6 cheaper than Rayo's. And to make sure I get all of that marinara sauce out, I just put like about a quarter cup of water. You can also do like a quarter cup of red wine or white wine even, just to get all of the sauce out, and just kind of shake it around really good and add it to the pan. And now it says to drain it, but I'm just going directly from the boiling pot of water with the spaghetti noodles. I'm just sticking it right back in to that meat sauce just to make sure that there is enough liquid in there, because I didn't want it to start getting super thick. So for the side, it said to have some garlic bread. Now this is where I was so tempted to just grab a French bread loaf from Aldi and make my own cheesy garlic bread, because my family loves it very much. But I was really trying, you guys, really trying. So I just decided to grab the garlic bread that they do sell at Aldi, and it was really delicious. I probably would have never picked it up there before because I like to make my own stuff. But it was so good, and I'm going to get it again next time just because of how great it was, and my family really enjoyed it. In addition to the garlic bread, I do have some steamed veggies on the side, and I am going to use some Parmesan cheese on all of the servings that I am serving up here today. So if you are new here, I thought I would just introduce myself really quick. My name is Alicia. We are a family of 5. I have 2 sons, a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, and then a 4-year-old daughter. I have been married, or we have been married, I should say, for 18 years. And on my channel, you're going to find a lot of food related stuff. So a lot of grocery hauls, dinner stuff, and some travel stuff as well. So please subscribe if you haven't already, because I would love to have you around. And as you can see here, here's the aftermath. Actually, this is not. My kids continued to eat the spaghetti after I filmed this, but it was really well loved. And moving on into our next meal, we're having some baked chicken thighs with roasted potatoes and green beans. Now for this recipe, I was supposed to be using bone-in skin-on chicken thighs, but this is all that they had at Aldi. I only got 1 container, but we needed more. And so I did have some left over in my freezer, so I decided to supplement whatever I bought at Aldi with that. Also, the other thing to note too, the recipe called for Yukon Gold or red potatoes, but I decided to just use russet potatoes because I had a large bag of it, and I just decided that I'd rather use that instead of having to buy more baby potatoes, which is kind of more expensive. So I just stuck with that. So I just wanted to make note of that. I will say this was another great dish. I really love sheet pan meals because they just go by so fast, and it uses less equipment, so less dishes to wash when they're done. We love this. Now, I'm sure it would have been way better with like a nice crispy skin, but again, using whatever we have, and these turned out great. There was not anything left actually after making this, not even for leftovers. So it was a really good meal. Again, with the seasonings, I would have gone in there with some additional things, but you know what? For what it was, for this base recipe, it was perfect. Also, I kind of am curious, where are these recipes coming from? Like, is Google just taking snippets from one recipe and then getting it from another recipe and combining it? That's something that I would actually like to know. If you guys are at all familiar with this AI stuff, let me know, because I'm super interested in that. Okay, so I actually have to back up. So there was leftovers, but let me just tell you what the leftovers were. It was the green beans. So the green beans, they did not turn out great at all. So I followed the directions, and it was for 15 to 20 minutes that they needed to be in there for. Ordinarily, I would only roast them for like 10 minutes, but I wanted to see where this was going. They did not turn out good. They were so dry. Also, you can see here, when it comes to potatoes, I need them seasoned, you guys. So I'm coming in here with the buttery steakhouse seasoning from Kinder's, because I can't just do salt and pepper on potatoes. Like, I cannot. So it was honestly a really good choice. So my suggestion for this recipe is to not roast them as long. I would only do maybe 10 minutes or so, or maybe just steam them on the stovetop or something, because they were just so rubbery and just they were not good, unfortunately. And something really fun, my kids really do love to help out whenever I'm doing like cooking or baking or anything like that in the kitchen. My son wanted to help with the green beans, like trimming them. And so this was a pretty easy task. I remember doing this when I was really little, going to my grandma's house when she was in Pennsylvania. I went to visit her when we were living in California, and I remember helping her trim green beans. And it's kind of cool. It's like coming full circle. Now I'm teaching my own children how to trim green beans. Even though it's just such a simple, easy task, it's something that they can do to help out. Another thing to note on this recipe as well is it called for only one sheet pan, but because I increased the amount of ingredients, like the chicken and the potatoes and whatnot, I did not feel comfortable putting it all in one pan. I wanted to make sure everything was thoroughly cooked through, so I did decide to use 2 different sheet pans, and I did rotate the sheet pans during the halfway mark because I wanted to make sure everything was roasting properly, and everything did. Everything came out great. Well, aside from our little veggie snafu, aside from that, everything was perfect. This recipe was probably the biggest hit of all of the dinners that I made this week, and that is this beef stir fry with rice. Oh my gosh, it was so good. So the only modification I did to this recipe was I increased the amount of meat, which means that I also had to increase the amount of the sauce that I was doing. So that's the only thing. It only called for 1 pound of the flank steak, but I'm using a little over 2 pounds, I would say. And so I also doubled the amount of soy sauce and the amount of hoisin sauce as well. And you know what? The meat turned out so tender. The meat from Aldi was so delicious. I could not believe it. Generally, when I make stir fry, it's always kind of chewy and rubbery, which is probably why I never make stir fry, but because it showed up on my recipe list, I had to do it, and I'm so thankful. So I'm going to kind of keep this as something to return to. I might, of course, come back in with some more seasonings, of course, because I need to, but it was definitely a major hit. So just talking just a little bit about ChatGPT, I know there is a free version, which is what I use. There's also a paid version. I don't really know what the difference is. I'm not sure if there is a limit of queries per day with the free version or image making. I don't really know. I use the free one and it works perfectly for me. So I would recommend, guys, if you are in a funk, how where you just don't know what to make and you just don't want to think anymore about what to make for dinner for the week. I get like that every once in a while, and it sucks because then you're just kind of at a dead end. You don't know what to make. This totally comes in clutch. Just have it make you some different meals that your family would eat, and you can make this specific to your dietary needs, whether that be gluten-free or if you guys are vegan, or maybe just not include dairy products in any of the meals. Have ChatGPT build your menu as you would like it to. Let me know if you've ever done this before in the past or if you plan on using it. I am absolutely going to be using this again in the future. It's just kind of something nice to have in your back pocket when you do come into one of those days where you're just tired of thinking, you've been thinking all day, and you're done, and you just need some help here. So this is kind of a nice tool to have. And our very last dinner that ChatGPT created for my family is some meatloaf with mashed potatoes and steamed carrots. And I am going to be upfront and say that I did sway a little bit from the recipe because I have a really good meatloaf recipe myself that I love to use. But of course, I will include the actual ChatGPT recipe that it gave me in the description box below in that link. But my meatloaf is just so good. I'm also going to include that in the description box too. Now, the only difference is I do not normally use breadcrumbs. I did decide to just keep that in. I ordinarily use oats. I like to use oatmeal in my meatloaf. I know that might sound weird, but I just like it. I like the the texture and everything. I think it just is so good. Now, in this ChatGPT recipe, ketchup goes into the meatloaf, whereas I like to make my own ketchup glaze, which is what some people like to do as well to their meatloaf. So that was pretty much the only difference here in the meatloafs. Also, for the mashed potatoes, I normally like to add some cream cheese to my mashed potatoes to make them like uber creamy. I did not do that. I just decided to stick with at least that recipe if I was going a little off script with the meatloaf. So trying to keep it as close to ChatGPT recipes as possible. So for the steamed carrots, I thought Aldi sold bulk carrots, but they apparently do not. But I had to use baby carrots, and honestly, these turned out great. Now, I did have to steam them a little bit longer than what the recipe called for. It called for about 10 minutes. This took closer to about 15 to 20 minutes. So just to make note of that in case you decide to make this, but it was so delicious. The kids really loved the carrots this way. And here I am making the mashed potatoes. This is, you guys, listen, you need this tool right here. This tool is phenomenal. It is fantastic for those especially that have like hand injuries. I have tendonitis, so my hands get super tired after a while, and mashing potatoes was like my enemy. I would not make mashed potatoes very often, or if I did, I would have my husband come in to mash them. But using like this potato ricer, it is so much easier to do, and then the potatoes literally just melt into the pot. It is so good. I'm going to link that tool down below. I've had that for a couple years already, and I love it so much. All right, my friends, so that is it for today's video. What did you guys think? Did you guys like this type of video? Let me know, leave me a like or leave me a comment. I would really appreciate it. I, for myself, really loved it because it took the guesswork out of what to make for dinner, because that's honestly always the hardest part, is menu planning, for me at least. So let me know, maybe next time I can have it make a completely different menu. I'm sure my husband would be very happy with that, because he did say if I were to do this again, to maybe not have it include things like spaghetti or meatloaf, things that we love, but he does not, sadly. But let me know, leave me a comment. I would so appreciate it. And please subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you around, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye, friends.